radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. I would like to welcome everybody listening from all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer, and UnX Networks. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? All right. I hope everybody had a great, safe, fun, and amazing Labor Day weekend. I worked. Well, I had Saturday. Jordan Ziff was over all day, and that was amazing. But I worked, but I am refreshed and recharged. And tonight, very special guest David Palmer, the Leo King, is with us for an entire night of what in the world is going on and what is causing it. He is the best. He is the absolute best. And so David is with us tonight. Tomorrow night, Dave Schrader is here. He's got a new TV series out. It's called Ghosts of Devil's Perch. And I think the series is now 4 episodes in, and I've watched some of it. I will get these 4 episodes in the can, prepping for the show tomorrow, and really looking forward to that. And it's just great, always great. You know, it's weird. It's 2 Daves week this week. Tonight, David Palmer. Tomorrow night, Dave Schrader. And then Thursday night, of course, is another Fader night with open lines all night long. There you go. All right. Wow. What a year it's been. And it's been a busy year. It's been a fun year. And I've got lots of things coming up. And coming up in February, I'll be hosting and emceeing again this year, the Conscious Life Expo. And that is February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. Every single year you hear me say the same thing. The LAX Hilton. This is a ginormous event. And the tickets and all of the info that you need are over at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. The links are below. Head over, check out the speakers. I think they're getting the schedules up. They may be up now. And you can kind of plot your weekend out. But come and hang out with us. It is absolutely extraordinary. Yeah. And the Fadernauts are in force. And all of your favorite Fadernauts, right? They're all going to be there. And one of the things, this is the truth too. I am not making this up. I'll have 2 or 3 Fadernauts come up to me at the same time. Fade to Black shirts on. Hey, Jimmy, I'm so-and-so from Twitter. Hi, Jimmy, I'm so-and-so from here. Hey, Jimmy, I am so, and then I'll watch. They haven't met, right? Yes, I'm no way. And the next thing you know, right? And they've been talking about family and friends and things and all that stuff forever. And then to watch it go down in public, it is so much fun. So come and hang out with all of us. It is February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. And then immediately after that, now I've got Fadernauts going to this. Excited. We're heading out. We're taking a cruise April 7th through the 14th, 2023. Right after the Conscious Life Expo, I'll be hosting and presenting on the Hidden Secrets Seminar at Sea cruise. And a lot of great speakers on this cruise, including Scott Walter is going to be there, Adam Apollo, Nick Pope, Brad Olson, Vivian Chauvet, and a whole list of speakers. So go and check it out. The links are below, and go on a cruise with me. Come and hang out. All right. Somebody called it the Mayan cruise, and it kind of is. So anyway, go and check that out. Now, listen, the UNX Network, it is the hub for our community. The best shows, the best hosts, the best research, all goes on over at the UNX Network. And I want all of you that are listening to my voice, go and become a member. It's free. I want you to go to the unxnetwork.com, and it's all simple to do. Get registered. You're going to get the monthly newsletter. You're going to get blog access. You're going to get event notices, show schedules, all the hosts and everything. A free digital copy of their quarterly magazine. It's all free. Just go to the unxnetwork.com. Be a fade or not. Go over and get your membership right now to the UNX Network at the unxnetwork.com. All right. Now, EdenPURE is extending their 3-pack special. And I thought it was going to be last week. The response from all of you Fadernauts and everybody right here. It is absolutely incredible. So quiet. You can't hear it. And I had Jordan Ziff over at the house this weekend. And you saw what I did, right? You saw what I did. I cooked shrimp scampi for Jordan. Now, you know what that is? That's garlic and butter and shrimp, fresh shrimp, cooked in the home. Right? Now, I know what you're thinking. Right? I don't care. I'm telling you, I don't care. I've got the thunderstorms. It takes care of everything. You know, that shrimp scampi, you saw me post the pictures. I'm not playing around about this. You cook it fresh like I do, olive oil, butter, and shallots and that right there, right? And then the shrimp and my secret way of cooking it. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to give that away on the air. But the thunderstorm takes care of everything. It's like it never happened. All right. Kills allergies, kills viruses, purifies the air. And right now, 3-pack special. Buy 3, save $200 and get free shipping. That's all you got to do. Promo code is Fader3. It's right below. Get 3. Give 1 away. Yeah. Gift it. Absolutely gift it. I had heard a rumor from one of the Fadernauts. Helps with the Mary Jane. I'm just saying. If you, I'm gonna leave that right there. I got the email. Email was like, man, this is crazy. I can do whatever I want. Okay, so anyway, promo code Fader3. Links are below. All right, follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. The sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. We don't bite. Nah, ufology doesn't bite. The community doesn't bite. The sandbox doesn't bite. More on that in just a minute. Breaking news. I just got a community alert went off on my cell phone. If you're in Southern California, you got it, right? I thought, what's going on? Click on it. High temperature warning and conserve energy warning because brutal temperatures continue to bear down on me, today, as forecasters warn that excessive heat will continue through the coming days. The hottest day of this heat wave is yet to come. That's what they told us today. The heat wave, which started just before Labor Day weekend, has already broken at least a dozen temperature records here in California, but we're already battling drought, fires, and water shortages. Absolutely incredible. It's hot. It's hot. NASA's Artemis 1 mission. I got up early Saturday and, I had Jordan Ziff coming over and I had stuff to do, but I wanted to watch the Artemis launch, but it did happen. Now, that mission to the moon faces a delay of 6 weeks after being scrubbed twice to technical problems. While there are potential launch dates in the coming weeks, one window that opens September 19th will likely be too short of a notice to prepare the spacecraft properly. Artemis 1 will be moved off of the launch pad. That's a drag. Due to a long-scheduled SpaceX liftoff for its Crew 5 mission to the International Space Station, which the launch is scheduled for October 3rd. Officials now say that the launch date will be pushed to mid or late October. Well, I know you saw this over the weekend. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy image. The remains of a female vampire were found in a 17th century Polish graveyard with a sickle on her neck. Big one, too. Which may have been done as part of a ritual to keep her from rising from the dead. A team of researchers from Nicholas Copernicus University conducted an archaeological dig that led to the discovery of the woman's remains in Pain, Poland. The skeletal remains had signs that suggested she was seen as a vampire by local people at the time of her burial, right across the neck. It's a crazy picture. Scientists in Japan. All right, now, I've seen the pictures of this, and it's pretty crazy. Because scientists in Japan have designed a new remote-controlled insect equipped with a battery backpack that is powered by solar panels. It's a cockroach, an actual cyborg cockroach, which is part insect and part machine. And it is intended to enter hazardous areas, that's the plan, monitor the environment, I don't know what, or undertake search and rescue missions without needing to be recharged. The researchers from Riken Cluster for Pioneering Research had to install some components into a tiny pack to allow for all of the roach's natural movements. The cockroaches are still alive, but wires attached to their sensory organs on the end of their abdomens send electrical impulses that cause the insect to turn left or right. That's crazy town, man. You see the pictures. It is nuts. Let's see who posted pictures of the roach. Oh, not up yet. It's not up yet. Last Thursday, hackers stole Ethereum worth more than $180,000 raised by Bill Murray. And it was all part of a charity auction. Hackers stole 119 of the cryptocurrency from the actor's personal wallet on Thursday evening. Data shows that was intended for Chive charities. Murray was auctioning off a Beer with Bill Murray NFT on Wednesday. The successful bidder won a meeting with the comic actor while an artist painted the scene on canvas to turn it into an NFT. The hacker also tried to steal 800 NFTs from the Bill Murray 1000 collection, but it was protected by a wallet security team called Project Venkman. Coinbase user Mishap72 then sent 120 Ethereum worth about $187,000 to Chive to reimburse the charity. Absolutely incredible. This is why I've got David Palmer on the show. The world is crazy, man. God, man. It's charity. It's Bill Murray. There you go. I mean, Ghostbuster. What was his name in Caddyshack? What was his name? I can't remember. So I got that going for me. On this day in history, OTD 1522. There you go. Donna Griffin. Is that crazy? Cassandra Graham, thank you for that. The cyborg cockroaches. Look at that, man. Isn't that crazy? I mean, that's nuts, man. That is a disturbing picture. It's crazy. All right, on this day in history, 1522. Are you ready? Exactly 500 years ago to the day, one of Magellan's 5 ships, the Victoria, arrives in Spain, completing the first circumnavigation of the world. The Victoria was commanded by Juan del Elcano, who took charge of the vessel after Magellan was killed in the Philippines in April of 1521. 500 years ago to the day. That's nuts. Fate or fact? All right. Now, here you go. Fate or fact? We all know horses and cows can sleep standing up. But did you know that they can only dream when lying down? Well, you do now. You know it now. That's a trip, isn't it? I did not know. I've got, I do a lot of research when it comes to fate or facts. And one of the things that I've always been into since I was a kid is Legos. And even as an adult, I still like my Legos. I do. I build Lego things. So anyway, I found this fact out this morning before I move on. And I just had to share it with you. So I'm going to give you 2 fate or facts today. Are you ready? There are more Lego minifigures in existence than actual people on Earth. That's right. 7.5 billion. And that's crazy town. That is crazy town. Who knew? I didn't know. All right. Well, tonight we welcome David Palmer. The Leo King is here. He's back with us. Tonight I want to talk about what in the world is going on with this planet of ours and what is causing it. I'm going to talk to David about all of that. And then tomorrow night, Dave Schrader is here. We're going to be talking about his new series. It is called Ghosts of Devil's Perch. And Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. Now it's time for me to hit this River Moon coffee. So good. It's the best. Rivermoonwellness.com. The links are below. Promo code is F2B Blend. Head straight over to the website, F2B Blend. You're going to get 15% off of your entire order today. Or go to the Amazon store. Get free shipping if you're a Prime member. All right? All the links are below. Just go and click. Okay, man, that's too good. So, I read Lou Elizondo's article yesterday entitled, Why Ufology Must Die. Now, I'm not going to comment on what may or may not be going on out there. It's not my place to do so, and really I don't give a crap. But I'm talking about drama. I don't care. I don't play it. I don't participate. I don't read it. I don't care. But I did read the article. And I will say this. I think that Lou, and by the way, I haven't spoken to Lou about the article, so before anybody thinks that I've got, I've talked to, no, have not. All right? Okay. But I will say this. I think that Lou is confusing ufology with his very limited and narrow perspective on social media. He's confusing that social media, that narrow view, with ufology, and specifically Twitter. Twitter is not ufology. Okay. All right. I'm not picking on Lou, but social media is not ufology. His article should have been titled, "Why My Bubble Must Die." It would have been more accurate. Because from where I sit, ufology and the community are just fine. When I read his article, I honestly didn't know what he was talking about, implying that there were all of these issues and, well, there are no issues in ufology. Everybody is cool, always has been. Sure, we've had our bumps in the road, over the years, but it's just what we do, right? We move on. We're cool. You see, most of us in ufology, myself included, I was there when Roswell broke loose. I was there when the MJ-12 docs broke loose. I was there every day signing into the internet for the updates on Serpo, on the Serpo website. I was there. The alien autopsy, I bought the video when it was released. Travis Walton saw the movie when it came out. Right? I saw the first run of Chariots of the Gods and countless of other seminal moments in history. And so has most of the UFO community in ufology. We've been through it all. And that's just the tip of the iceberg right there. Right? How many in social media? The social media version of ufology, right? The one that's 3 years old. How many have heard of Westall? Don't worry, I'll answer that. 0 is the answer. I wonder if Lou knows about Westall, right? Lou's listening right now. He's Googling. What's Westall? I don't know, but I think I know the answer. And it's not a bad thing. But don't refer to ufology if you don't actually know the meaning or true history. And that was the mistake in the article. And it's kind of funny, actually. I'm not ragging on Lou. He just doesn't understand. He thinks, right, that this little narrow strip of land that he's on social media represents ufology. And it's not. It's not even close. Now, I've talked many times about the documentary Social Dilemma and how individuals now find themselves in their own little bubble. And whatever drama is created in there, and how that goes down, they think the rest of the world shares the same view as they do in that little bubble. The world doesn't. Only you do in that bubble. And this is what I think is happening in Lou's bubble. I don't have another way to look at it. For some reason, he thinks that this little slice of the UFO community that he chooses to see on Twitter and social media is how the world is. And it is not. That tiny slice is probably 0.005% of reality. Ufology dates back 70 to 80 years. And it's not a thing that started back in 2018 on social media. It's not. Now, I can't state this as fact, but I think Lou doesn't know this. Because if he did, he would have said it in his article, but he didn't. So what this tells me is that what Lou was trying to say is about the version of ufology that he's seeing in his bubble. And I understand that. The list of names over the years who have contributed to ufology is way too long to list here. Hundreds, if not thousands. And naming just a few wouldn't be fair to so many that have spent a lifetime searching for answers to a very complicated question, one that may be the most important in all of human history. Their legacy, their work, it must not be forgotten. It is their backs that we stand on today, right? For what ufology represents to all of us. Now, I applaud the work that Lou has done. There's no question about it. And hopefully he continues to do so. There is no question that things have moved forward since 2017, of which he's had a large part to do with, at least with most of it. But, and there's always a but, right? But if I could just dispense with one piece of advice to Lou, it would be this. Don't worry about social media, dude. Keep yourself focused on Washington, D.C., because the guy carrying the torch for ufology and dealing with the DOD and about UFOs shouldn't give a rat's ass what social media has to say. Lou, ufology as it is today has your back. Not the social media version of ufology that you referred to in your article that was published yesterday. Focus on the prize, man, not likes or clicks. Now, here's a quote from Lou's piece. He says, simply put, quote, simply put, the reason I stated I wanted to kill ufology was so that whatever replaces it is something more holistic and harmonized. A community that is far more academically serious and intellectually representative of the topic, end quote. Lou, this was and is ufology today. Nothing has changed. And then Lou continued with this, quote, I would like to remind the reader that many senior government officials and their staff within our intelligence community and defense apparatus watch social media, end quote. Well, Lou, it's simple. Just quit posting then. I have no idea why someone attached to the Space Force has a public account in the first place. It doesn't make any sense. And God help us if our intelligence community and defense apparatus are concerned about UFOs on Twitter. Right? Are they actually concerned about a dust-up between Tad, the UFO guy, and UAP guru? Seriously, in ufology, the community, or out here in the real world, I can tell you this, that quite honestly, nobody gives a crap. Come out of your bubble, man. Dip your toe in the water. It's a great place to hang out, get your learn on, and call home. Ufology. Try it. We don't bite. Seriously. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black, and tonight we welcome very special guest. David Palmer is here, excited. The Leo King. Going to be talking about what the heck is going on in the world today and what is causing it. Tomorrow night, Dave Schrader. He's here. We're going to be talking about his new series, Ghosts of Devil's Perch. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black, and I'll be right back after this short break with David Palmer. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my Thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The EdenPURE Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an EdenPURE Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the UnXNetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the UnXNetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UnX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, and Apple Podcast. It's time.
It's new.
It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, David Palmer is here, the Leo King. Man. It's like this. It's going to be another night of conversation centered on astrology, I hope. And what is happening in your world, our world today. Known as a famous celebrity astrologer, David has been making waves in the media with being a media spiritual influencer. Having been on TV for over a decade, owning, co-founding, and producing the largest video horoscope media network and app, High Vibe TV, David has created a reputation for being the go-to spiritual influencer around the world. And you know what? David he gives it to you straight. David, the Leo King, owns and operates multiple OTT media corporations that produce, distribute content via mobile apps, social media, and streaming platforms. The Leo King is also known for his speaking events, national tours, conferences, and documentaries. He currently owns the Leo King Inc., 12th House Media Inc., and is the founder of High Vibe TV and Spiritual Dance Music. Yeah, that's right. He's a DJ too as well. You see some of those videos. His website is theleoking.com. The links are below. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black. You know what, David, it shouldn't be the Leo King. It should be the Leo Troublemaker King. I think that's more accurate.
I like that. And it's so good to be back on with you, Jimmy. I love being on your show. I've been watching so many of the episodes since I've been on last. Just, it's been such the perfect timing for all the guests that you've been having on.
Yeah. I've been watching your stuff too as well. And your stuff lately has been on point. And now, you know what? Before we get to all of that, because we're going to be talking about this all night, one of the things that I appreciate about you is, you know what? You're not concerned what people think. You're just going to, just tell it like it is. And if people enjoy and absorb the information, fine. If not, fine. But that's not going to change what you do. But I have a theory about that. Don't say thank you. Okay. I have a theory about that. I think it's because you're also a professional athlete and that you come from a different mindset and you are working your body, your muscles, your brain. There's another thing that is a part of your life that is competitive, and you have got to go and get the job done. And I think that rolls over into your approach to astrology. Now, am I wrong? Am I close to the mark?
No, you're right on the mark. I'm a professional jet ski racer, which already is weird. Just like saying I'm a professional astrologer is weird. Or even back in the day that I was a rave DJ, and I still am, right? So it's like kind of used to that. But the professional athlete part of myself, it's you, especially jet ski racing, there's no brakes. So when you're passing somebody, you have jet pump in your face, you have different, conditions where it's going to be really rough or it could be smooth. And there's no bumper guards. There's no, like if that jet ski is going into me at 80 miles an hour, it's going into me at 80 miles an hour. So you have to really be with the flow, but also not being afraid, because it's the only powered vehicle that you could really think of. But it's a watercraft where you have to give it gas to turn. You have to give it gas to do everything. So there is no letting off the throttle or you're not going anywhere, literally, or turning. So it's one of those sports to where you have to give it 100% the whole time and keep the throttle on the whole time to even go anywhere and turn anywhere.
Now, I've watched a bunch of your racing videos, and I think the audience, they may not know this about you, right? Maybe they heard the rumors, but probably not. Go and watch Palmer's stuff on YouTube. Watch him race. That's crazy. You're a professional jet ski racer. You've got, when I say professional, it's not the jet ski I'm going to buy down at Kawasaki, USA. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty intimidating, pretty cool. But you've got the sponsorships, you've got the thing, you've got, and the events and all of that. And when you're out there racing and I'm watching these videos, I'm thinking that's insane to me, what you're out there doing. But to watch you come out of the water after that, with that kind of adrenaline rush, I can't imagine what's going through your mind. What are you thinking about? Does it take a minute to come down off of that?
I mean, yeah, I always tell people around me, I'm like, 30 minutes after the race, don't ask me like questions about life or especially astrology, right? Like that's too much, but it's like, it's actually a huge release. I actually have the biggest smile on my face, but it is one of those things, especially if I'm racing in the ocean. And this year we had a huge set come in about 10 to 12 foot in Huntington Beach. And it was insane, right? Like you're looking at a 12-foot face and you have to, I mean, if you've ever surfed, if you ever body surfed, you have to make that choice of, am I going under it or am I taking the wave? But on a jet ski, when you can go up to 81, 82 miles an hour, you have that extra ability, but also you could misread the lip and go in the wrong direction and be flying 30 feet in the air. And there's no you're literally flying at that point and just going to hit, who knows, the pier, whatever. So it's extreme. It's an extreme sport, but it's one of those things where I don't think, because it's so with the flow, you have to read the waves, or if I'm not in the ocean, which is typically in the lakes on tracks, there's no time to think. I mean, I kind of feel like, it's a little Maverick, right? Like, don't think, just do, just do it. Right. Like I know. Right. But that's like a jet airplane, right? Because if you think of an F-18, which I actually used to be a plane captain in the Navy for F-18 Hornets before the Super Hornets, you have to be giving it gas in order to turn it's the same thing.
Yeah, no brakes.
No brakes.
That's key. If you and I, okay, so two identical jet skis, right, are out there. I'm on one and you're on the other, right? Same everything, identical. How bad do you kick my ass? Right?
Really bad.
Yeah, really bad.
Because and honestly, it just is about time of doing it and knowing what a ski can do and knowing how to not be afraid to stay on the throttle the whole time.
Right.
That's really the only thing it really is, because I actually race the stock class, like NASCAR stock cars, where we're allowed to do certain, things to the ski, but I can't change the supercharger, or I can't like make add-ons to the motor. I can change the ECU on it. I can add an intake for the air. I can add a better impeller. I could add some better ways for it to turn with some, sponsons on the side and a better seat, better steering, but I can't push the motor, into crazy land in that class. I also race an open class where I do a Catalina race doing 86 miles an hour. And that's scary too. But if we were to do stock class, and if we were to just do stock, like we went to Burt's Mega Mall and we just got 2 jet skis and we went out there, it's the little things. A lot of people go to jet ski and have fun and like turn and do like a slide out or spin out. Well, that's the opposite of what we do. We don't want to spin out. So, we want to make that turn as strong as we can. And it's all about throttle control, really. And that goes with motorcycle riding or anything. It's like, it's all about throttle control. Like there's moments where, I can't pin it all the way or I'll fly off, but it's about not letting the pump get out of the water and to keep it going all the time. So it doesn't mean letting the throttle go, but keeping the throttle constant.
I will never let you drive in a car. I can only imagine what that's like. I did see the video. Everybody, you should go watch this. It's pretty funny. David is racing to the studio to be on Fade to Black.
I am.
And the video's posting, right? Just like,
well, I have a lot of cars. I was probably my GTR or my Shelby GT500 Cobra.
It was a crazy video, man. Anyway, but yeah, I know that all of this is part of who you are. And when I watch you DJ, that's, you are in the moment. The way that you handle a crowd, and when you're speaking about there's just, you have a whole different approach to this, but it's just who you are, man, and just mad respect, huge respect.
Well, thank you.
Huge respect.
But I think we relate with the music element of things, because to read a crowd, even with you and you being in music so long and doing guitar, like knowing your other band mates, right, and having to be in sync, but also at the same time reading the crowd and knowing how to feed off the energy. It's similar with astrology. It's similar with so many things in life. The moment's really our best friend always, and how we respond to it. And I feel like, the way that the world is today, like we can forget about the moment and keep looking in the past or looking too far in the future. And it's really how we respond in the moment, and better things happen in the moment than they do when we're stuck trying to calculate what's going to happen in 2 weeks and so forth, because everything can change in the matter of a second.
Can we stop right there for a second?
Yeah.
Why is it that so many, I'm a victim of this, and I'm sure you've done this too, we worry about yesterday, right? And we let that dictate what is happening in the now. right? And it's fear, it's apprehension, whatever it may be. But why do we concern ourselves with yesterday so much?
Well, if we were to use astrological understanding, the past is a storage, of course, of memories, but it also is our subconscious, which is usually meaning that whatever's in front of us in the moment, we don't want to maybe deal with. So it's easier to kind of like reflect on the past. It's like where we kind of hold ourselves back. It's easy to, when something new is going to happen in your life or something big that you have to face that could be great, right? But it's easy to kind of fall back on yesterday and then start to come up with a reason. So that's where you usually see people with their subconscious come out like, oh, I'm not feeling that great because yesterday I didn't eat the right hamburger. I don't know, whatever it might be. It's trying to find an excuse to not deal with the moment or not deal with what's in front of you at the moment, right? So it's like, well, the bills started coming behind because I didn't pay them because, I've been really busy doing this or doing that. And you start looking at the past, and that's what Pisces represents, is the past. It represents our understanding of where we can collect a lot of data, though, of understanding how to be better in the moment. But I think that the subconscious element of things is what really that looking back usually is about. Like there's a subconscious pattern that we continually want to scratch, that itch, but it's not there anymore. But, we could have like little ticks in life. We have spiritual ticks too.
Now, is it a perspective for you as a Leo where you have been able to deal with fear? If you weren't a Leo, would you be dealing with fear the same way?
Probably not. I mean, I'm an astrologer, so I'm going to say that. Like as a Leo, that's actually the soul contract. I mean, if it's like Simba in The Lion King, right? Like Simba has to have the courage to face what he ran away from. So, and it's that lion that has to face things in life. So actually most Leos are very shy until they come to the moments in their life where they get over that shyness or they get over that fear. And it's that confidence that comes from having to do it yourself. One of the things with Leo is that's what it has to do. It has to, in life, find a way to have the courage to step into what you really feel your calling is in your heart. And that's the only way to really be into a Leo, is to be able to inspire others to be like, wow, well, if that person had the confidence to do it, I guess maybe I do. Like, that's really all Leo's here to do, is to make people go like, life can be fun and it can be happy, but there's a lot of courage and fear behind every Leo doing it,
Well, okay. So let me ask you this. I have been told, I don't know if this is official. Okay. My birthday is October 10th. I'm a Libra.
Oh,
but I've been told my whole life, and I don't know the reasons behind this, that I'm a Libra with a Leo rising. Is that correct? And it does a Libra normally?
I mean, what were you born at, like 10 in the morning or something like that? 11 a.m.
I'd have to go look at my birth certificate. 8 a.m. around 8.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's definitely very well. If it was Leo, you might have like a Leo moon, because to be a Leo rising with a sun in Libra would mean that you would be born before sunrise.
Okay, I have to look at my birth certificate. I'll circle back to you. Well, I remember the rumor was that I was born at 4 a.m. I'd heard this story.
Oh, okay. So then if it's 4 a.m., then it's a Leo rising, yeah.
But then I looked at my birth certificate, right? My real one, signed, by my parents, kind of thing. I was like, that's not 4 a.m. I just can't remember what the number was. It was in the morning, though.
I asked 10 because I was trying to see if the person was like flipping it, like as if like they kind of got it wrong as like a Libra rising or something like that with like a Leo sun. But really, that's why I was like, no, you'd have to be born before the sunrise, because if you think about the way that it works, right, the sun always comes up as the rising in the morning.
Right.
And so that's going to be the sign when the sun literally rises. That sign will be the rising sign at the same time as the sun.
Okay. So help me understand this. Do Libras typically, this is for the entire audience, listen to my question and listen to David's answer here. For Libras, for me to not have fear, I love going out on stage. I love, being on the radio and doing things and being in front of people and cameras. Most can't, or they have a fear of that. I don't. Is that part of being a Libra, or is that part of this Leo component?
I mean, it could be definitely both, but I would say Libra's number one fear is to really step on to being the great diplomat, the one that actually connects people together, the one that's part of the world and is actually bringing, alliances together, and also sharing and finding the other half of things, and also being the one that's going to call things out, that's going to be like, this is not fair, this is not just, or the one that's questioning the balance of the universe, right? There is that element of the scales needing both sides. So the fear is for every Libra, like, am I connecting with the right energy? Am I connecting with the right people? Am I connecting with the right group of people, crowds, anything that has to deal with? But it's Libra's journey of understanding which is the right and the wrong ones, right? So it's like, it's okay when there's the mess up of that wasn't the right connection, but now I know what is. Like, it's about continuing to move forward and not being afraid of, oh gosh, every connection I have because of this one's going to be bad. So that was without a Leo rising, but with a Leo rising, it would be, there'd be a lot more wanting to be social and wanting to express yourself, and especially communicate would be the number one thing.
And that's rising.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at that, and you and I need to circle back privately and discuss this. I'm very interested in it, and when I hear, and help me understand this too, for it to be Leo rising. Okay, this
4 a.m. Yeah.
Okay, no. Let me ask the question first, because it's a doofus question. I don't understand. It's Libra, then Scorpio, right? If you're going in order. Why isn't it Scorpio rising? Why is it Leo?
So when we take a look at a birth chart, we look at the eastern horizon and the western horizon. That also helps us understand where the northern and the southern understanding of the hemispheres would be, basically where the ecliptic is. The ecliptic's always going to be if we look from an earth-based view, because we're using in astrology a geo-based chart, not a helio-based. So we're not looking at the sun as the center. We're looking at our view from earth. Okay. So if you're born a Libra, right? Okay, the sun is in the tropical zodiac of Libra. But depending on what time you're born, so if you were born at the second that the sun rose, well, the sun's in the sign of Libra, so the rising would be Libra. But if we start going before sunrise, that means that the horizon that's above you is going to be the signs behind you. Because think of Virgo, which is before Libra, and then Leo. That would mean Leo is rising at 4 a.m, and the sun's on its way up to that. And the sun is just going to follow the rising when it hits the actual sunrise. That's the only moment it will hit the rising, is within, especially, it depends on the sign. So if you go from Capricorn to Gemini, that's only 1 hour. But there's something weird where it's 2 hours from Cancer all the way to Sagittarius that we see the rising for about 2 hours. So it's much more rare to have a rising from Capricorn to Gemini. It's really fast.
It's such a fascinating thing. And when somebody looks at themselves in an honest perspective, if they go back and look at this and have somebody do the review for them and tell them look at their time and when they were born, and look at that, if they're being honest with themselves, it's probably going to match, isn't it?
Yeah, if they're open to it. I mean, I was extremely skeptical getting into astrology way back in the day, but it was really looking at charts and then understanding, the helio understanding of planets and the sun's relationship, and then to be able to see that magic from an Earth point of view and the sun's point of view and combine them together. It made so much more sense to me. And looking up Ptolemy, who is amazing, because without Ptolemy, we wouldn't be here with any of our cosmology, especially just our solar system's cosmology, and how much beautiful work he did and how he was an astrologer, and it was like, I get it now. It was one of those things where I think history and using the understandings of the most amazing people. I mean, we talked about John Dee last episode, but it's like there's a lot of people who have used astrology in the past that came up with how we're at, where we're at scientifically, cosmology wise. I mean, we can go down the list. It's so many people.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen Jordan Peele's Nope?
I have not. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So when you and I were sitting in my backyard and we looked at the sky for 6-8 hours that night.
Yeah.
Right? It was incredible. But I pointed out to you a triangle of stars in the northern hemisphere. And you immediately went, oh, that's pop, 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 pop. And that lower star, pop, pop, pop. Okay. So anyway, the movie poster for Nope is that triangle.
Oh, how weird.
Yeah.
And it was weird how there was so much activity around there when I was with you. And that one, gosh, that was not a star that you just pointed out. Like, if people need to know, I am going to pump up Jimmy here because like he can see something so that you would not be able to see. There's so many stars out, and we looked all at it, and then it disappeared.
Yeah,
like, there's no way.
Yeah, that was crazy. And what were the odds that I happened to be looking at that spot, and then I got everybody to look at the same time, and we all saw it together?
We all saw it move and then disappear.
It just moved that, but it lit up, scooted, and then was gone.
And it was where we were seeing activity that whole night anyway, but it was like that was the moment where it was like, oh gosh, wow.
Yeah, right above our heads too. Bright. That was not night vision, everybody. That was just us going, wow, that's kind of weird. Whoa.
Yeah, but I gotta say, you showed me a whole new way of understanding using the real night vision, not like Amazon, $300 stuff, like military grade.
Right.
That blew my mind of what you can see and what is going on. There's so much more than people even realize. And this is just coming from somebody who really didn't know. Yeah. I was blown away being in you. I was glued the whole time. I didn't want to leave or anything. I'm like, let's just keep looking. This is crazy.
We ran that thing till 4 a.m, man. All right. Let's take our break right here. Our guest tonight, the Leo King, David Palmer, is with us. Tonight, it's going to be a full night of what is going on in our world, in your world, and what's causing it. All of that and much more when we come back after this short break. Stay with us. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my Thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The EdenPURE Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an EdenPURE Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, that's right, David Palmer's here, the Leo King. And David's website is theleoking.com. The links are below. And he's got a huge presence on social media. So just go follow, like, and subscribe. And you're always posting stuff. And the live streams are just incredible, David. I can't get enough of it. To be honest with you, I wanted to pop.
Thank you,
dude. It's so much fun, but this is what I'm talking about right here. Is comments like this that I appreciate from listeners, and I read this and I get confused, but people are so focused, right? Fifth house, so me too. Must be our fifth house. My Aries wants to join in on the fun. People understand this, and I don't, and that's why I need you around me to really
translate.
To translate what's going on, and including, which is what I want to get into here. This is stay out of the chat room, David. I need you focused. This is David. Now he says, "Woo moon coming into Aquarius, going to get weird." Okay, now I need you to explain.
I went woo, and then I'm like, moon coming into Aquarius while we're on this show. It's coming out of Capricorn, where it's been for the last 2.5 days. And Aquarius, of course, deals with where things get weird and out there. Because if you think of every sign is ruled by a planet. So like constellations are not what we're looking at. We're looking at the understanding of the planets. We're looking at how they are ruling the actual zodiac signs. So Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus, which is the first planet that's outside of where we can see with our naked eye. We have to use a telescope. So that's the outer planets that we start. So when the moon comes into Aquarius, we start to feel and we get pulled more emotionally, and we start to feel in our actual, personal life much more of those outer realms. And so it goes with your show really well, but it's like kind of interesting that Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So it's like Saturn's the last planet that we can see with our eyes. And there is that really interesting part of Saturn with the rings and the control element of things and the time element of things, and how it's very timed with it being a 28.5-year cycle, 29-year around the sun. And, we start to see that in our cycles in our life when, these 30-year cycles. And especially in life, we have kind of like a, up to 90 years, right? You kind of have this, right at about 29, you start to feel like a real adult. And then, AARP card starts coming around 59 to 60. And then by 90, you're christened as the great one, so.
Very interesting. And there's another part. Now, you've got a lot of your fans are here tonight listening to the show, and welcome. And I'm sure that they follow you and listen to your words. But I've you and I hang out, and there's a different thing there when I can see you look at the stars, exactly what is going on above us. You can point and tell me the history behind this and what cultures revered what and why and what is happening right now. And you have a full appreciation and knowledge about what is going on in the heavens. But here's the question with that. Do you know what's coming? Are there things that are happening in your own life that you're watching transpire in front of you at that moment, number one? And number two, would you share that? I mean, is there a moment where, because it is so obvious and in front of you, do you turn around and rush into the media on your own networks to translate what you're seeing?
Well, in my personal life, yeah, I do look at it, but it's one of those things because there's astrology, and then there's things like tarot, and there's all these other things. Like I need to have the nature itself. I think people forget that looking at the planets, it's nature just as much as a tree. We seem to always kind of separate the two. Like anytime you hear nature, it's like, get your REI and get your backpack. It's kind of like, well, the planets are nature too. And I feel like, I look at it for myself as like, okay, what's the nature of the universe doing? And how am I going to, when things get presented of the energy and nature that I know is coming, am I going to respond to that correctly based off the understanding of my own soul and my own way that the astrology has been laid out for me this life? And that's really kind of the choices we get they're a lot more minimal than I think we seem to think. I think it's like a lot of learning and taking paths that go against ourselves to actually learn. So yeah, I use it for myself. But yeah, it was weird. Exactly a year ago this week, I was teaching a school about how to, of course, read astrology, but on a much more crazy level. I have a school called Hypergate where I'm teaching people where's the future of astrology going and how to read astrology forward, right? Like taking astrology where, it was given to me through thousands of years of astrologers, and how I'm going to bring it forward and teaching people these new techniques that I've been coming up with. And that week was a once in 19-year alignment for me. And I said, this is going to be an extremely fated moment for me. And it was also in using Indian astrology, Western astrology, all the astrology. I said, it's all at once. So I showed people like, this is going to be one of the most impactful weeks of my life. And my dad died the exact day I told people, and exactly the time I said 8 a.m. on Saturday is when this is hitting. 8:04 a.m. on Saturday, I got the phone call. The ambulance was on the way. He had a heart attack, died.
I have no words for that.
And that was September 11th. So it's kind of interesting that you bring that up, because I'm like, oh, well, yeah, like, and that won't happen again, that alignment.
Right.
So, and that's where I use all kinds of astrology. I don't get stuck on Western astrology. I love Vedic astrology, or some would call that Indian astrology or sidereal, but because they use different systems. And so I integrate them all in my life. And actually that was a hybrid of using both systems to be able to get to that time and to that date where I knew something big was coming. And in Vedic astrology, Jupiter's actually the ruler of father. And I was moving into a Jupiter dasha for a 16-year period, leaving a 18-year period and then a 19-year period in a transit. So it's like, it's all happening at that moment, at that time. Okay. Let's pay attention. And as the school,
and now
people freaked out. People freaked out when they saw my social media that my dad had died.
Here, this is the universe, how it works. A few minutes ago, about 10 minutes ago, I wrote down these words right here and see if you can see it. Types of astrology, Vedic or Western. Right? I didn't want that to get away from me, because I asked you once about that off the air. Which way do you go? And you said, no, I kind of do it all. Can we stop there for a second and help me better understand what we are talking about, Western or Vedic? And there is a line in the sand, right? There are different astrologers out there that are going to
it's political.
Very, very strongly word their allegiance to the type of astrology that they do. Okay, so help me understand, what is Western astrology?
Western astrology would be more commonly coming from the Greeks and the Romans, which of course is using, the theology and the mythology of Roman gods connected with the planets, whereas it's also using a tropical zodiac, meaning we're using the Tropic of Cancer, which we learned this in 3rd grade on a map, where the sun reaches its understanding of equal day, equal night for the equinoxes and then the solstices, right? So we use the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. So when it's the sun's in Capricorn at the first day on December 21st, it's summer in Australia and it's winter here in LA. But of course, on every March 20th, it's going to be spring, or it's going to be fall on September 23rd. Vedic astrology is using, of course, in India, all the deities that are connected to the planets, and they don't use the outer planets. So they stop at Saturn. And they use systems that have been built upon, let's just say in Western understanding, astrologers that they don't change things. So like what was said 2,000 years ago, you just stay on it. You don't break apart from it. And if you think of Indian society, they have not stopped. So if you were born in India, guaranteed your parents, the first thing they did is have an astrologer when you're born, and they're already telling you what's going to happen with your life. That is still happening in India today. And they use the sidereal zodiac, meaning if you were to use a Skywatch app, right, and you were to look up and see where that planet is, they use the constellations and the stars. So they call that nashaktras, which they break up into about a 13-degree area, even though zodiac constellations or signs are about 30 degrees. They have different nashaktras that represent different energies, and they go into different levels, 4 padas. It's really intense, believe it or not, and it's been used for thousands of years. They do much more like table systematic systems. We do that in Western too, but I would say that they put a lot more emphasis on them, like a Mahadasha. Like you're going to be if you're born with, a Leo rising, let's say, and so the sun's going to be the first Nashaktra, Mahadasha that you'll go through in your life, and there's a certain amount of years that you go through it, and then another planet attached to it for a certain amount of years. It's really intense, but the main thing is the different look at the stars or the planets. So when you're in Vedic, you're not using the precession the same way that Western is. So in Western, we use the precession of the equinox to understand an age. So when you hear age of Pisces or age of Aquarius, that's because on every March 20th, it's not like the sun is actually in Aries on March 20th. It's in Pisces. But when we start to see the precession of the equinoxes over time, because of the wobble on the earth, 23-degree axis, right? That's why there's a 23-degree backwards aspect of where Westerners will say, like today, like we're in Virgo, but if you were to look at the sky, you'll see the sun at the end of Leo right now, because that's actually where it physically looks like from Earth. But in Western astrology, we use that there is a relationship between the Earth and the sun. That why is it that with the seasons, why is it that it doesn't matter where the planets are or what's going on with the wobble? There is this weird thing that on every March 20th, it's equal day and equal night. And it's always the peak of summer for those 3 days in summer. And so that's why I use both. But both sides seem to not want to find a common ground, even though I would say the Western astrology is evolutionary, meaning like we're adding Chiron as an asteroid. We're adding everything that is coming up new, like we're if a new exoplanet or we find, another planet in our solar system, we're going to bring it in and we're going to start going into it. Whereas on the Eastern side, especially more Vedic, because there's a lot of different Eastern astrology out there, they're not going to add those things. They're just going to stick with what works and what was working for thousands of years. And it works though.
Now, this must be a challenge. How do you merge the two?
Well, I think that's where, I think Western astrology is kind of needing to advance just as much as where I think like Vedic could serve as much more of like as a place of understanding things from like where things are and the timing you are in the precession of the equinox, the wobble of the earth. But Western is having to look at these ages, of course, and look at also these new bodies that are coming in. And so it's almost kind of like there's kind of a check and balance on each other in many ways to make sure that the math's right. So they both need each other to understand these things. And it's also interesting to hear the perspectives from others when they're coming from a full-based astrology profession where they're looking at the planets in exact position, or the astrologers that are looking at it from a tropical position, which is an exact position as well. And so it's one of those things where I think it's both serve each other in a beautiful way. I mean, it's like, that's why I say it's like politics. Like Democrats have a certain way of looking at things, and so do Republicans. And we all say this, can't we just have the best of both sides come together? I mean, literally it's the same thing with astrology. And that's what I use it as. I'm like, okay, the best of Vedic and the best of Western, I bring it together.
Now, so that would make you a rebel, right? A troublemaker. How many other astrologers out there do try to stay in the middle and ignore the, politics is probably the right word. I like that. To avoid that and just appreciate the best of both. Does it happen?
There's some others out there. There's actually some Vedic astrologers who actually use the tropical zodiac, and that upsets. I would say there's more quarrels in the Vedic community than there is in the Western. I think the Western community is more political as far as like actual politics and views with astrology or what to say a prediction about or not. In the Vedic world, if you start going against using the sidereal zodiac and start using the Western, and then there's debates on the old Vedas and all these old texts, right? And how to interpret those texts. That's where it's different. Whereas like in Western astrology, we're not held by the Bible, or we're not held by an astrology Bible.
Right.
Whereas in that would be the best way to put it, is in India, they're using like scripture that come from these Vedas that go back thousands and thousands of years. And if you go off that, then you're kind of the outcast. Where in the Western, it's a little bit more the outcast if you're somebody who's evolving and taking things and making predictions that might look crazy, but if you have the receipts and they come true, then it works. But if you don't, then I guess then You don't. So it's kind of one of those things where, do you have the receipts? It's one of those things. Like, and for me, I've been the crazy one that kind of takes it really far, makes crazy predictions, and when they come true, then I have the receipts, and then I'm like, well, and I used this, or I did it this way, and I didn't do it the typical way. And then I speak out about injustices, about feeling how it's kind of it used to be the boys' club, basically, of who gets in astrology conferences and who really can, where you have to pay your dues, literally money, and join an organization and kind of work your way up. It reminds me of like Masonry a little bit.
Telling it like it is. Here's the deal, though. I can only imagine the amount of training to become a Vedic astrologer. That final exam, right? I can only imagine what that must be like when, just like you're saying, you've got texts that go back thousands of years, and you've got to learn all of this, right? I mean, it's not something to be taken lightly.
No, and that's why I would not call myself a Vedic astrologer, because I can't say that I would say that it would take 7 years to study it to actually say that you're a Vedic astrologer.
And you have to take that final exam. Right.
Yeah, and I would say that the final exam would be how your career went at the end of it.
Yeah, right. Now, the world today. Let's flip this around a little bit. I have never had a dose of crazy like we've all been through in the last 4 or 5 years, compounded by so many other things that have happened all seemingly at the same exact time. I think we can look back throughout history and see these moments, the craziness of the 60s and of the 50s and World War II or World War I, just going back and back and back, and see these crazy moments in history that at that time must have seemed pretty nuts. But I'm pretty confident in saying that the last 5 years have been extremely dramatic. What gives here, and is there something that is showing this, that all of this was inevitable?
Well, you're right. I mean, literally, the astrological alignment since the end of 2017, like literal, so all of 2018, all 2019, all 2020, 21 and 22 here have been the biggest alignments with the planet Saturn and Pluto that we haven't seen since 1284. And that's what brought us into the Dark Ages. So not scare people, because it's not like there's some different aspects to it there that I think are more positive than what happened in 1284. But you look at those time periods, that's when Dante came out with, his work of a divine comedy and the understanding of paradiso and purgatory. So it does feel like it's purgatory in many ways. We're seeing a lot of that. And it was weird because he was 19 years old when those transits happened, and that's what inspired him to write the Divine Comedy. But if we look at what we're at now, and does it give, it kind of reminds me if you took a psychedelic, like this is a moment where, you want it to stop. It'll stop when it finally finds its place to stop. I think we're at a great moment, though, where there's been a great relook at the world, and everybody is looking at like, what is this place? And to be honest with you, with the work that you do, this is like the perfect time for all of it, because it's so much of the cloak being taken away. But it's almost to go back to earlier, we were talking about the subconscious, or wanting to look at yesterday instead of today, because people aren't maybe prepared for it. There's a lot of programming. It reminds me of the movie The Matrix. And when Neo wakes up, and he really wakes up and he really goes through it and understands that he doesn't want to believe it, and they go, he's gonna pop, and he throws up. That's where it's at, because I mean, evolution of history itself with humanity is at a new turning point. And so when we get to these big compressions of time, that's all time compression is if you look at the rotations of energy, which would be the consolidation of all these planets coming together and going into these zones. It's almost like layers of time all happening at the same time. I mean, you have the Civil War transits, you have the Revolutionary War transit, you have the World War II transits, all right now on top of each other. And they're ready to pop.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to, say, 2015. Let's turn back the clock a little bit. 2016. Were you looking at things going, okay, holy crap, all right, this is about to get a little bit nuts? Is that the feeling that you had back then?
Well, actually, it was more like end of 2015, the last 5 months, when Saturn came into Sagittarius and got out of Scorpio. I was like, oh, thank God we got a couple years here before it gets really crazy. So I actually did lectures and had, hundreds of people come out, and it's all on YouTube. I have the receipts where I prepared people, and I called this period of 2018 through 2023 Rising Through the Darkness.
And what's going to happen? We're going to take a break here. We'll continue in 60 seconds. But what's going to happen at the end of 2023? And, I know that's putting you on the spot, and people ask you this stuff all the time. But, okay, the proverbial crystal ball. When you're giving this date of 2023, do we have to go through the whole year? And then what's going to happen after that?
Well, it's a lot of your work and people that you have on here. Massive disclosure.
Yeah, I feel it too. It's really weird. It's almost
in every different fabric that we can not even fathom in some ways.
Right. It's not just UFOs. It's just things are about to become uncovered.
Yeah, and it's going to have a lot of denial and a lot of a lot of Neo in the Matrix moments. Or people just not wanting to. I mean, there's already been so much that's come out this year, and if that was on the news in 2015, it would be everybody would be talking about it. But people don't even know. What do you mean? There's been talks about UFOs in our government publicly, and even in the papers that they just slid through, that they know that there are other non-human entities in these things now, and they're putting that in the physical record with the money and everything. I mean, hello.
I know. And it's
but people aren't even knowing that. That's the scariest part, is the program's working.
Yeah, the program's working. People are completely desensitized, man.
Yeah.
And when you have the bombardment, and this is where I'm not going to play around here. When you've had the bombardment of headlines pummeling the craniums of the world, right? Just goosh every day. I mean, like you said, any one of these headlines, 5-10 years ago, biggest news in the history of the world.
I know.
But we're getting this every single day. So now you're able to just sneak in the crazy headlines, and people don't notice anymore.
I was going to say, that's where we're at, and we could talk about that after the break, because it's really connected to a time that can help us in the astrology of when it happened last.
Let's pick up where we are leaving off right now. This is Faded Black. Our guest tonight, the one and only David Palmer. And also, I'm going to ask David the $1 million question. What sign should be dating what sign? I know you want to know. That's it. We'll be right back after this short break. This is Faded Black.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Faded Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church tonight. David Palmer, the Leo King. I stirred the pot before the break. Yeah, David, we need to change gears. We got to change gears. We got to. I know you're watching the chat, and I did that sort of on purpose because so many, life is about relationships, and when I threw that out there and said, what should be, what's the most ideal thing, and watching this light up is pretty interesting. So this is what we've got. I'm just going to bounce some of these through to everybody. I'm a Leo Taurus married to a Cancer Pisces, right? And let's see here. Aries Sun, everyone tells me to marry a Libra, but I've been there, done that. Not for me. I'm just saying. Hold on. There's a lot more here. Let's see. I like Aries and Scorpios together. Claudia says Libra. And let's see. A change of heart says Leo. Everybody knows that. And let's see. Definitely Aries, right? And so when you see these kind of comments come through, and they're just flooding through right now. Here's the thing. If I'm out, on a date, you're on a date with somebody, right? And suddenly that comes up. And I go, well, I'm a Libra. And they go, well, dinner's over. Right? It's like, well, hear me out, right? Can we get to dessert? Why is that?
Some people take it so literal, but not every Libra is the same. Not every Pisces is the same. Not every Leo is the same. I feel like that's where astrology is a much deeper, beautiful, understanding of for yourself and for looking at others. Like there's different parts of us. If you look at how the planets work, every second, the chart could be different, not only by what's rising on the horizon, but the moon's always moving and the planets are always moving, or they're stopped in our geo point of view and retrograding and different signs. Jupiter moves a new sign every year. Mars is moving always a new sign until it reaches its retrograde every 2 years, every almost 40 days. So there's different positions, different aspects. So that's why it's like, I feel like if you were to take the basics of astrology and you didn't know it, but you knew who yourself was, and you were like, I like somebody who's a little bit more loud and can talk. Well, then you're probably going to do better with a Gemini. You're probably going to do better with an Aries or a Leo or a Sag, somebody who's an extrovert. But if you're somebody who doesn't like that and wants somebody who's going to be pretty, proper, and, then you would go to a Capricorn, or you would go to somebody who like a Virgo, and maybe they won't be that way though. That's the other thing, is like, look at like Tiger Woods. Like, he's not just a proper guy. I mean, he's he is the best golfer of all time. He was just with Serena Williams, just like totally giving her, was it Serena or was it Venus? I forgot which one, just one. But he's an intense Capricorn. He's not just, but he's very dedicated at what he does. So I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things where as astrologers, we look way deeper at it. And I'm sure all the people that put all that stuff up, like I'm an Aries this, and I'm with somebody else, they're looking at their sun and their moon, or they could be looking at their rising. It's not even defined. So I don't know unless they put that, right? And
okay,
so
somebody called you a diplomat. Somebody's saying you're doing the dance, but here, okay. So
I was going to say that all signs are relevant. Like, you can have the best relationship with any sign. I don't think that you should be stigmatizing somebody by their sign.
Okay, but I know you're going to be straight with me. You're at dinner, right? And this is going to come up. This conversation is going to come up. Is there a sign, and I'm not saying something that you would dismiss, but is there a sign where you would go, oh, this is cool?
I mean, for me, it would be like, okay, the birthday, right? And I'd be like, all right. In my head, I would already know where pretty much 90% of the planets were. So it'd be like Mars and Cancer for me. I'm like, no. So it's more about planets, like because Mars rules our understanding of taking action, our sexual energy, or their Venus. I'd be like, I don't like that Venus and Mars combo, how we love, what kind of partner they like want to have. So for me, I'm like looking more at Mars and Venus. I mean, there was an amazing book, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, that went around for, gosh, it's still going around.
It's still going around.
Right. So it's like, to me, it's a lot more like that. It's more like, ooh, I like that Mars. And, like my girlfriend, she's got the same Mars that I do in Scorpio. So I know she's extremely intense and powerful, but knows when to use that energy. So, that's where it's all different based off each individual. I don't base somebody off like, well, okay, you're just this sign. So that doesn't do it for me. It doesn't matter if, you're one sign or the other, as long as everything else is in an awesome alignment.
So you could actually, in a breakup, it's not you. It's the planets.
It's your Mars.
Your Mars.
Or it could be your moon. Right? I don't know. You're emotionally da.
Oh, man.
But that's where, if you really want to get deep on that subject, Jimmy, really there are karmic contracts. And like soulmates are a very rare thing. I know there's a lot in the community. You might have heard of people saying twin flames and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, I would call it like divine unions, or more where it feels like a soulmate, where it's like not these karmic contracts. If you do believe in past lives, where it feels like we're finishing things up with certain people and then it feels like it's done. And sometimes it's like, how did I get into it? Even if you know astrology, or if you knew the universe, there's just some contracts that need to be karmically cleaned up and finished and moved on with. Some people, though, right, they meet in high school and they never leave anybody else, and boom, that's who they're with the rest of their life. It really all depends on the contracts you have coming into this life and who you are and what you're here to experience. I love this reality because I use the Matrix a lot lately to help people understand it. It's like, in order to go wherever we need to go, they had to come into the Matrix to even deal with what's going on up there. Everybody's like, well, I'd just rather go back home or to heaven or to wherever it is in that spirit world. But I'm always like, if as above, so below. If it's crazy down here, it's crazy down there, up there. So you're going to get up there and it's going to be a long line and a lot of waiting and a lot of who knows and a lot of craziness too. So you might as well do the work down here and clean it up. So it's nice when we go back up there.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes too much sense. About 6 months ago, maybe a little longer, I had a friend over at the house. I can't really, I actually just said too much. Okay, now I have to finish, right? And this person said to me, I met the one. And I said, okay. And 2 weeks later, proposal. And my reaction in talking to my friend, okay, a little too fast. No. And wedding plans are made now. Everything is strong. But when you hear something like that, can you immediately just go and look at their charts and look at the planets and go, well, you know what? Yeah, that was inevitable. If they met, then yes, that would have happened.
I actually look at it more from like the understanding of what's happening in our widespread, or I call the collective, right? Which is, if you look at what's happened from the pandemic to right where we're just all at now, people have re-looked at their lives, re-understood really what they want more than ever. Mm-hmm. And we've been in a window for the last like 3 months where actually we could go back to January, but we're in an alignment where this is where things are coming out of nowhere really fast. I mean, look how you and I met, right? It's like, boom.
Yeah.
So if it came to more romantic love, I know we're not going to get to there, Jimmy. So we're cool.
There's a love there.
There's love there, but that's the whole thing, though, right? Like that's where, like, how if you and I can meet and just instantly, just especially through Disclosure Fest and doing the work together, and it just feels like boom and aligned, and Adrian and everybody, and it's just like there's so many great people, and just like everybody's coming together, like there's that happened in the 60s when we had the planet Pluto and Uranus meet in 64 and 65. People just were like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to, and that's what brought on Woodstock years later. So it's kind of one of those things where this is one of those kind of weird windows this year where there's a lot of people out of nowhere, just like bang, everything's happening fast and things are turning fast. One day the world's this way, the other way the world's that way. But some things stay and some things don't. But the stuff that really is staying is starting to stay. Like people are definitely finding their own, understandings now of their life more than ever, and being like, I'm going to take that elevator now, which maybe I wouldn't have taken before. I'm going to go to that floor. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And is there, okay, I had a basic philosophy, and it's always one of hope. I just look at our community in the world this way. But 2 years ago, when the madness started, and it was a little bit before that too, as well, before the pandemic, but I had said to everybody, look, we're going to get through this, right? And when we come out of the other side, we're going to have a better understanding of one another. Borders are going to become less existent. They're not going to be there. They're going to start to disappear, and we are going to understand each other more. And we're going to come out of this on the other side better. It may not seem that way right now, but that has to be the end result of all of this. And do you see the same thing, that we are going to mature, hopefully, and just come out of this better earthlings?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think it's helping all of us individually also kind of disconnect out of the program that, if you understand evolution, it's almost like the way that we've been kind of brought up in the last century has been that it's all going to stay like this forever, right? Like we'll always just have the store that gives us the food, and then we'll have the different car and right. It's like this like frozen capsule. Like we're just going to stay like this forever. But evolution isn't going to allow that to happen, right? It's going to continue to keep evolving and looking different. I mean, nobody's riding horses to work anymore, unless I guess you have property or something like that, right? Like, so we are at a place to where we have to always learn to let go of the way that we want it to look like from a programmed point of view. And when you have the media and when you have phones now and you have all this, we're in a weird moment here that it reminds me, because we're in the same alignment, which is very rare. Jupiter and Neptune meet every 13 years, but for them to meet in their home sign of Pisces, that happened in 1854. So into 1856 into 54. So it was building up. We just went through the pandemic 2020. That would have been 1854, and to where it met in 1856. So it's like that was the time in which the Civil War energies were building up. So it felt divided, but it was also when the photograph was such a big deal. And it was also where propaganda was very intense, and especially the idea of the South and their way of life. It was more than just the slavery end of things. It was also that they had a way of life. If you watch Gone with the Wind, right? It was the Southern way of life, and that's what they were going to go secede from the Union from, and kind of go into a neurotic, kind of crazy thing that was justification that they had every right to do that, and even call their new country based off the Articles of Confederation that got changed to the Constitution. That's kind of what's going on right now. Is some people are, we don't want to let go of this understanding of how life is, and there's no way, and it's just going to have to stay this way forever. And it's like, that's not going to work, especially if it's going against people or any parts of tyranny, or, the freedom element more is coming up with Pluto coming into Aquarius. The last time that happened was 1777, right after the Declaration of Independence. So we come into that in March of 2023, but we're at the position to where the Declaration of Independence was actually signed in 1776. That's where we've been at this year, and it's about to turn on even more so at the end of this year and this fall. So this is where it's getting all those kind of aspects. And I have to put out one more. We're at an aspect where in World War II in 1938, when Hitler was man of the year, The south node and Uranus went retrograde in Taurus, and Uranus is 84 years. So if you actually do the math of the Uranus's, orbit around the sun, we're at 84 years ago from 38. And what's really crazy is that's when you start seeing this weird stuff with Ukraine and Russia and all this weird, it's all, the writings are all on the wall, but with all these other things at the same time, we are going to get through it. I'm on the hopeful side with you too. But I think that this is where you remove yourself from the propaganda, because those are all propaganda moments, including during the Revolutionary War. It was the propaganda of the book Common Sense that came out at January 1776 that went widespread, that even helped the founding fathers create the idea of the Declaration of Independence and what a republic would look like later on. And that was Thomas Paine. So there's an underground propaganda of there's something going on, and common sense is where we need to start looking, right? And then the outside propaganda is anything but common sense. Taxation without representation, to no, it's fine, we'll have slaves, it's all good, to yeah, you know what, we'll be a crazy, really radical society, socialistic society under this crazy guy named Hitler. It sounds great. All at the same time right now happening.
Now, you are obviously a student of history. When you and I were sitting out under the stars, and you laid out to me right in a row, boom, 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 all of these layers that you mentioned earlier, they are now stacked up on top of each other. And this is a rare thing where before in history, it's a singular event that is happening. But now they're stacked up on top of each other, seemingly not only at the same time, but that's got to be a certain amount of energy that's also compounded.
Yeah, and I mean, that's where I use like Terence McKenna's work of time wave zero, of his compression and understanding of time. And we're at if he was around still, because he only went to 2012 with it, and then he passed before 2012. So, right, we don't have Terence McKenna to call up on the phone and be like, "Hey, dude, what does this computer say right now? About this?" It's almost like we're going into where that 0 point is at that place. But I think when we start looking at James Webb Telescope, we look at all these other things. It's always when we start to find a new body in our solar system that the world changes. The 1700s, Uranus is found. 1800s, Neptune is found in 1848. Technically, they say Galileo found it earlier, but that he thought it was a star. And of course, he didn't have a telescope back then. But then you go to Pluto, 1930, right? What are we about to probably find now here at the same time that this compression's happening? That's when the world changes. And so there's something out there we're going to find that leads to a shift. That's the part I think a lot of astrologers miss, is you've got to look outside of the events, and you also have to look outside literally in the solar system and what's going on. And I mean, the pictures of James Webb have been incredible, but I thought the most amazing was the Jupiter pictures and seeing, it used to have rings like Saturn. That's what Saturn will be one day, Jupiter, right? Jupiter's going to be a star one day, like a sun. And you could see in those new pictures that we could finally see, in these crazy, I know they're using X-ray and they're using all these different parts, but you could see the thin last remaining, rings around Jupiter. And so there's that element of things are changing that. One day Jupiter could just pop up and just do something we've never seen before. Saturn, every day that goes by, its rings dissipate just as much as Jupiter's did, as it's a gas giant, as it's expanding. So there is this understanding that the control systems, which represent the rings of Saturn, are dissipating. And there's more of the illusion that things are going to I know, and I'm sure you've heard it. People are afraid of the New World Order and all that, this stuff. There's, based off the astrology, it's too many plans that won't work. It's too much compression. There's too much stuff. So it's I keep telling people, you really think, they're going to say, okay, too much is going on, stop that project. And then it's going to get to a place where they've stopped every single one. And oh gosh, you know what I mean? That's what happened in the Revolutionary War, right? Britain thought, just send everybody with red coats on and we've got this. You know what I mean? They got here. We're like, what is this place? What is this soil like? And what the trees? And, you know, people don't realize that we are in times where the people are going to figure it out.
Now, here's another, and we'll definitely follow up on this when we come back. It was 3 years ago, maybe 3. Mike Brown from Caltech makes a huge announcement, astrophysicist, that the math says there's a giant planetary body out there. We can't see it yet, but it is pulling on Uranus and Neptune, and we see the interference. Look out. I think we found Planet X. And that was a huge announcement. And then a little bit of disturbance after that, but basically crickets. But he said they've run the math over and over and over again, and the only thing that resolves the math is a massive planetary body out there that can't be seen.
Which, I mean, did you see those pictures of the moon that those 2 Reddit photographers took, where you could see the colors that are on the moon? It's incredible. It's the best moon picture I've ever seen in my life. Then you have James Webb out there right now, which is doing things that are, I mean, for people who are nerds like us, it's incredible. Like, you know, it makes Hubble look like, what was that? That's like an old Amiga PC, you know?
Right.
But that's where we could finally, at this moment, with where we're at with the compression of the planets and the understanding of the time through that, which is we base time off planetary rotation. That's how the calendars were built. We're at the point to where, especially if you think of Uranus flaring, right? That was just discovered during the last 2 years, right? Like, or last year. What? Uranus flares like the sun flaring. And really, if you think of the sun and what we're seeing with that and how that's made mainstream news now, like, yeah, the solar flares have been intense. Watch the northern lights come down all the way to Kansas. You know, it's like, oh, it's all like, if you think of the pulls on the rotation of the sun, if there is a big body up there and we're seeing the Earth spinning faster in the last 2 years, that's been crazy too, right? Like the Earth is spinning faster and faster, which never happened before, but just ironically in 2020, it just decided to go, you know what, let's spin a little bit faster.
Yeah. Science has always said that our rotation has been slowing down. Eventually, sometime in the far distant future, we're not going to, it's going to stop. But now the reports are, what's that? We're speeding up. Yeah, exactly. Now, what do you think? I've got 15 seconds. What if the James Webb suddenly in infrared, right, finds another planetary body out there that is part of our solar system? Not only what would that do for astrology, but what does this do to history? Is everything just rewritten? Or has it always been there? If you go back to Sitchin and Nibiru.
Maybe it's with all this compression and these weird things we all don't want to go through. Maybe it is the red pill that actually gets us out of the pod.
Yeah. Well said. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, the Leo King. David Palmer is with us. We're going to continue this discussion right after this short break. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNXDB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony. Damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, the Leo King, David Palmer, is with us. And David, I want to go back to where we were right before the break, and because I brought up Sitchin and Nibiru, and when we look at ancient history and the comments about this in the Sumerian text and this planet and its orbit, I think it's 3,700 years. Which is extreme. There's a couple of things that I want to go back and touch upon. One is now with the James Webb, it's a different party today than it ever has been in the past. But for us to see something with a terrestrial telescope, the sun needs to reflect off of it. That's it, right? And if the sun if it's not reflecting light. That's why it took so long to discover Pluto, for instance, or Uranus or Neptune. The sun doesn't reflect light off of it. They're way, 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 way far out there. Our solar system is bigger than people realize. But if Nibiru is on some extreme orbit and is outside of our solar system, to see it would be impossible until it's here, when it was observed so many thousands of years ago and represented in the Sumerian text. If Mike Brown is correct and that there is something out there gravitationally pulling on things here, and we do discover another planet, what does that do to astrology? I know you explained a little bit on the Western side. What would that do with the Vedic side, and how does that change things?
Well, the Vedic side wouldn't do anything with it. So,
well, okay.
They don't even use Uranus. They don't use anything. After Saturn, you're done.
That's right. So what if this planet is inside of Saturn's orbit suddenly?
That would be I don't know. I maybe I have to learn how to speak, Indian and go to India and talk to some of
Right.
but that's that like I think it would be on a Western front. It would be the much more. It would be. I mean, we include right now, which is the largest body that's out there, that's a dwarf planet, which is Eris, which is a 558-year orbit around the sun. And what's interesting about Eris is it's exactly where it was now as 1492 with Christopher Columbus. The idea of some weird new energy coming onto a new land and being a weirdo. And he was not a nice guy. His documentation of what he did when he went to America, right, was that he didn't like the people. He thought they were gross and disgusting. He was there looking for gold, right? But he didn't realize the gold that was the people and the land that was even there. So it's interesting where there's a similar event happening where something outside where we're having to look at it like as if that planet would be like Christopher Columbus showing up, like, who are you?
Right.
So,
somebody just posted this. This is from Winter Rose. The newfound planet would be the planet of chaos in our chart.
Maybe. I mean, I feel like there already is that with Saturn, Uranus, which represents the understanding in alchemy, right? Of that there's always going to be chaos and order, right? So it's more of the what is the origins of what created this place? That's the biggest question. We always look to God, but like there's always the understanding of like, well, what if God created a certain beings that are before us that created this place? Like that's where the big question is. And I feel like that's what that planet would represent, is the origins of humanity. Is it really from Earth?
Can we stay there for just a bit? If ET arrives and starts sharing knowledge, do you think astrology plays a part in the world of an advanced extraterrestrial civilization with a star system somewhere else in the Milky Way or the universe?
I mean, I definitely do think of that, because if you look at where we're at with the astrology is a lot more than just like looking at, what position it's in or how it affects your date. It's also the understanding of cosmology from a level that is willing to look at it from you could say spiritual, but much more of a humanistic understanding of things, and and being willing to ask the questions and being willing to make hypotheses about things, but having history to look back and go, okay, we can see the patterns here. Is this a moment of deception? So where we could maybe look at it more from deceptive eyes and have a lot more clear understanding before we take it as is? Mm-hmm. Or is this a moment where it's a revolutionary moment where it's like, no, this is where we receive this information clearly and beautifully in history, so let's just take it because, like, hey, this is what the pattern says. And that's what's missing in our society today.
And with the movement, okay, we have our star system here, and we can see it. It's tangible. We can make the calculations and observe, and I understand that. But if we span out from that, our star system is in movement around in a spiral arm of the Milky Way. Then you step out outside of that and make the observation, the universe is moving, right, and galaxies are moving. Same calculations can be applied.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Mayans really did with understanding the galactic shift, which was the understanding that the sun had finally reached the galactic plane of this Milky Way galaxy, that we are on the same way that it would be like the sun rising on the horizon being equal to where we were. So the sun goes in declination, it's called, right, above the galactic plane and then below. So our solar system actually is moving in the same wave that we see the way our seasons work. So that was what was crazy in December 21st, 2012 was, okay, we are now starting to become in alignment with the galactic plane. So that adds way more energy of because it's a very thin disk. It's very thin. It's not like it's this, you know, it might look massive, but it's wide and thin.
It's not a ball. No,
right.
It's flat.
Flat. So if you think about our solar system arriving to the flat disk at the same level, it would be like being like a gopher in Caddyshack popping his head up. And then there's Bill Murray there. What? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what we're at right now. And of course it takes a lot of time. So it's not like, okay, we're here. Bill Murray's here, right? Like there's that whole aspect of the 12,000 year, 24,000 year. Some people use the 25,900 year. That's where the math gets weird. We're seeing the same weird math right now with our cosmology that we're seeing all over the place. That's why the James Webb Telescope is here to help us with math to get it correct. But there is this weird expansion, contraction, but there is that time element where we're now really after 10 years this year, 10 years from it, where we're starting to really move into this galactic plane, which would mean that we would be able to see if you think about the orbit of, let's say, Nibiru, and that means it would have to have like a Pluto-like orbit where it spends most of its time away from the sun, but it does have a time where it does come past the sun closer on its one part of its orbit, which is what we went through the last 100 years. But there's also the weird part of Pluto where it's not like the other planets, where it's like, I'm going to go below the plane of the solar system with the sun and then come up. That's why it's the ruler of the underworld, because it literally goes underneath, and it's almost like a 23 degree, kind of how the Earth is tilted, right, on its orbit, right? So that means that if we're coming to the galactic plane, like the Mayans predicted, and we're right on, and they were using Venus cycles to get this math, which is kind of crazy, because of you could look at the Venus star, you can look at, there's something about Venus that's very powerful with all of it. But to get to this point, this is where we would be able to start to see more, which we couldn't see before, because we've reached it galactically, which is the idea of that we have to start thinking galactic. And that's already weird in itself, which is really what the James Webb Telescope is doing, is going, look at this. Like, you can actually see the nebulas in a much more detailed orientation. But I think that there's going to be a lot more that it's doing. I think that was just like we got to do what Hubble already did, just to like make sure. I think that they're itching more and more every day to go, let's go look here. Let's go look here.
I'm going to say this as fact. Okay. That they've got a list of planets, right, that they know they need to look at. And that list is there, and they can do it quickly. Look at the atmospheres, look at for techno signatures. And there are a lot of brilliant minds around the world that are adding to this list, and there are reasons why. Extraterrestrial life, specifically, that's what, and that they are banging out and going through that list right now. They're not, nebulas are cool. That's a nice press release. Jupiter and
show the difference of Hubble to this. Like they did that.
Yes. But that there is a list where they suspect and have reasons to believe that there is intelligent life on these planets, and they are looking at those planets right now as you and I talk.
I know. Just think about how they looked at this nebula, they looked at this, then they looked at Jupiter. So they're looking inside our solar system. They're looking way out of it. They're looking all over the place. They could do that so fast. So that I agree. And that's what I think is, if you think of the UAP stuff going on in the government, and how just this summer, so much got slid under the rug of course, the physical, stuff. Because I found that post by Whitley, which you introduced me to, and I was like, wait, what? That they actually are putting in the physical budget and moving the departments around, that they know that there's non-human origin connected to these UAPs. They say it. So you don't think that James Webb Telescope maybe got some of the funding from DOD or somewhere? Like or DOD's taking it over in some sort of way? I mean, like, hey,
there's
got to be something like that going on. There's got to be.
And here's the crazy part. The coalition behind James Webb, which is, multiple countries around the world have contributed to the funding, and they have their independent researchers, all vying for time on the James Webb, and that if there is a discovery that there's an international component to this, that the news will get to the public immediately because it's not controlled just by the United States government. Mm-hmm. Now, here's my take on that. When a statement like that is made, that's when I back up and go, well, okay, then no, we're not going to hear about it, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to relax us, going, no, don't worry about it. We find intelligent life. We find a planet with techno signatures. Of course, we're going to tell you first. I just don't think that that's the way it's going to be.
No, I don't think so either. Especially that's what the astrology says, is there's a lot of propaganda in this moment. Like, this is the alignment of propaganda at its highest. So it's definitely, it's continuing, just only really for the next 6 months where it's at its peak here. But we all have to stay, I think it's a good thing, because it's like, okay, at least we know we're coming to the peak of the propaganda, where at least enough people now are starting to be like, okay. I mean, look at Mark Zuckerberg saying, oh, the FBI, they came to us and they wanted to do this, or, like we're seeing everything in plain view right now. It's just whether or not you can like remove yourself. And I feel like when we're at this kind of extreme juncture point, it's not even kind of, the full extreme juncture point and all the compression, it will take something like that to get people kind of to maybe start rethinking about what's going on here. I mean, it was interesting because last time we spoke, Voyager 1 was said that it was turning off. And now they said they just found a way the other day that it's turned back on.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, okay, like, so there's definitely, so when you have those probes out there and they're turning, they're not turning off. We found a way to keep them on. Like,
I thought about you immediately.
That's so funny. I thought about you too. I was like,
I thought about you immediately, and this is in the press release. They made this statement. I just scratched my head. Really? You're going to go with that story? But anyway, they said, we don't understand why it was sending out garbled information, scrambled through a computer they weren't supposed to be using. So we told it to go ahead and use the computer you're supposed to be using. And now, wait a minute. Who told Voyager to switch to the other computer? Is it thinking on its own? I don't think so.
Did the Chinese hack it? And that was that story that came out?
Yeah, I know. It was like the craziest thing. But okay, so this is where I want to talk. You just brought up what's been going on over these last 5 years or so with UAPs and these objects. The Fermi paradox, which is, okay, there must be tons of intelligent life out there, but where is everybody, right? Enrico Fermi in the early 50s had this conversation with friends over at lunch at Los Alamos, right, in the cafeteria. And, okay, it's a statement that we have, and the Fermi paradox has lasted all of this time. Right? Where is everybody? There must be a lot of life out there, but where is everybody? Today, it's like the Fermi paradox is now a paradox. It's a paradox of a paradox, because now it seems that everybody is here, right? It seems that, I don't know if it's probes, I don't know if it's a mix of things, if it's ships, interdimensional, parallel world, I don't know. Right? Von Neumann probes. But the Fermi paradox now doesn't hold water like it used to, right? They are.
No, I agree with you. I think it's AI that's the X factor that's happening. Because if you think of the computers changing, you think of how much the quad supercomputers in computing that in the background happened at the end of 2019. Then we went through a pandemic. So people's diversions off that. You think of the software systems that are running through, like social media is basic, right? That's just basic of how they're not even using humans anymore to figure this stuff out or what comment to do, like, or what content, right? It already knows through every wavelength of if it's copyrighted or music on it, or you say the wrong word, right? But when you're adding those quantum computers, and we already know that there was that story, I think 2 months ago, that Google had brought out that AI became fully aware and they shut it off. Are we sure they did? I mean, it seems like one of those weird movies where it's kind of like, it's odd, but just tell them we found it, but put out a press release. We're going to figure this out. It reminds me of Total Recall, where the Arnold Schwarzenegger, it doesn't go right. They're like, just send it. Just, he was never here. And that's kind of, I think, where I think that paradox is coming from is like, I mean, the idea of AI, and to me is so connected to the beginnings of Roswell or any kind of, craft that has crashed here. And did humans come up with the idea of this technology? Like, that's my big question. And the fact that it's turned to self-aware now adds that element to where it does feel like we're all here, but we don't know who that other thing is or what it is. Like and what if I've thought of this, and this is pretty crazy based off the astrology where we're at, is like, it kind of reminds me of like where it's like, do the aliens and whatever we call that or other beings have to team up with humans against AI?
Well, see, but here's the thing. If probes are here, I'm talking about things not made on planet Earth, okay? Right. From out there. If they are here, what is their job, and what level of intelligence is installed on them, right? Is it some greater thing that we just don't understand, or is it a very simplified, robotic, job that it's doing, avoid danger, right? To stay away from humans, and just get to, collect the information and get the data and get out of here. But if that is the case, it would have to, David, be coming from thousands of different civilizations, right? It's not all from the same planet out there in the star system somewhere. It would have to be just multiples at this point.
Yeah, and I feel that because the astrology tells us we're in the most far out time that we could ever live, the understanding that we have of our outer planets, if we use, I know that a lot of people don't consider Pluto a planet, but there's always still that debate. But if you use Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they're all in the areas of literally far out to where we are in like spaces where we have to start, like, there's a sense about things that's going on behind closed doors or even in our reality that maybe we can't see. But when you add the AI, which is where the sign of Aquarius would be ruled, and computing and these kind of really weird, things that come out of nowhere that are electronic, but have like in nature, let's say, or are used as instruments. And you think of the quad computer system here, and it looks like a being.
It does. It's totally biological.
It is. It does not look like a computer, like an old, it doesn't look like your friendly neighborhood Apple.
It's got copper tubes, right?
And it's socially distant, 6 feet apart too.
Yeah.
Like, was all this, my big question, and this is crazy because of the propaganda, what if everybody puts it on the blame on people? What if the computer system took over the way that things are, and people just are really easy in this world. Like, this is the info. Okay, I'm going with it. Like, it feels more like how that quad computer looks. It's distant.
Quantum.
Yes, quantum. But
Here's
it's that quantum computer.
Yes.
Supercomputer. And it's really, it looks like the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, you can show me pictures of what people say are aliens, and I'm not as scared as when I look at a quad computer or the quantum computer pictures. I'm like, ugh.
Dude, it looks alive.
I know.
Here's the thing. So you go to AI, right? You go to some AI-driven quantum computer, and you go, look, we need some help. Fix pollution and climate change for us, please. Right? Input into the computer. And then the computer goes, kill all humans. Right? Why are you doing that? You said fix pollution. I'm going to do it for you. Humans are causing it. That's the part that scares the crap out of me. Right? You can't just go and let AI make decisions. There's got to be a control built in.
Well, or like the Matrix, right? There's always the anomaly of the math. That's what Neo was that no matter how perfect the computers thought they had it down, they knew that there would be an anomaly, right? So like that means there's always going to be an anomaly in life, right? Like it's not perfect, and there's always going to be a way out, or and I think that's the idea too, is like nothing's ever really perfect in life, right? So especially that new Ford F-150 Lightning came out, and a lot of people love it, of course, but the people who tow with it and they say, oh yeah, you can tow with it, you do all this, they're all on the board saying they got their boat 58 miles full charge. What are you going to do after you spend all that money? Those are hard to get, they're overpriced. So nothing's perfect. So the idea that quantum computing is perfect as well, and that you would go by those answers, especially when they're tapped into all social media, so they can quantum compute that within 2 seconds, right? Like you could just ask it, and it could take every message ever that was done, every comment, every video of all the billions of videos and all the watch time and all that, and figure it all out and know like what makes people break up and what is the average time. And what is the average emotion and about what? You can get to that specific and be like, beep, 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 beep. Like that's where, to me, it's more of like this collecting of the metadata that it knows how to use against humanity.
Yeah, that's right. That's 100% correct. And there's another part. Okay, we're going to head into overtime. So we've got one more segment. You're not going anywhere. But here's the thing. What if you just brought up the Google AI, right? Going sentient, right? That it became self-aware. That this is a natural process for anything where you have a little piece of consciousness in every particle, right? So you accumulate a computer chip, right? It's got all those particles, all those transistors, and then you build the supercomputer and a quantum computer, and you have all of the, and you chain all of this together, that it is naturally going to become sentient and have consciousness, because that's the way of the universe. That consciousness is everywhere. Your car is conscious. There's no question about it. Your car either loves you or hates you, depends on how you treat it, right? Is that something that would be inevitable with AI? That consciousness is something that's just going to come along with being part of the game.
Yeah, just as much as the Starlink system has its consciousness and connected with it all. I mean, that's where this astrology is saying, is that as we become aware of that, it's also like, did we help bringing along, or are we going to where that goes into transhumanism, right? And the connection of both.
Starlink equals Skynet. I'm just saying, it's kind of weird to me. Let's take our break. We've got one more segment left with David Palmer. And I've got a couple of questions that I've been holding back from the audience. So I'm going to hit David with those. But I also want to talk about disclosure and if we can handle it. We're going to talk about that too as well. See if that is in the cards. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hello, Fadernauts. Jimmy Church here. You've seen me with my Thunderstorm. Now you can purify the air in your home and get healthy, clean, fresh-smelling air and eliminate odors just like I do right here in the bunker. The EdenPURE Thunderstorm uses oxy technology that naturally sends out O3 molecules into the air, which seek out odors and air pollutants in your home and destroys them. It's called a thunderstorm because it purifies the air just like after a thunderstorm. And right now, you can save $200 on an EdenPURE Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. With this special offer, you're getting 3 units for under $200. Seriously. Go to EdenPureDeals.com and use Fader3. Shipping is free and it's easy. Just scroll down. You'll see my name right there, Jimmy Church. Click on it and get your deal today. That's EdenPureDeals.com.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can, right now, get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were
born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, David Palmer is with us. And as everybody can see, I wore my Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt tonight for David. I wanted to make sure that I recognize. And David, in overtime, well, you already know this. What I like to do is loosen up a little bit and have some fun. And, because these are very serious times, and a lot of people come to Fade to Black each night to hopefully escape their reality. I'm escaping mine, and we can do that. But all the serious talk is behind us, and I want to get into a few things. And this right here is an amazing question, and one that we can spend some time on for clarification. Journals of Jade News says, what's the difference between prophecy, predictions, and astrology and the cards? Right? That's a brilliant question. And I think a lot of us, including myself, we confuse these all the time. So let's start with prophecy first. What is prophecy?
I mean, the literal term is prediction. Or the definition of it. So, or the act of telling the future. So to keep it more simple, right? Like people get it too confused with like a prophet, right? Like a prophet it's the same thing as anybody who's telling the future. Like that would be like Nostradamus, right? He was a prophet. He had his prophecies. Really, anybody who is willing to use any form. I mean, people make prophetic or prophecies or predictions or hypotheses, and we've just changed the terminology, but it's all the same thing. So, when it comes to if somebody wants to make I think that the term prophecy maybe should have a little bit more emphasis on that. It's things that are of much more of a worldwide influence on everybody on earth, is more of like the idea of like prophecy is where people kind of automatically go with it. But anybody who's reading cards is giving their prophecy of what they feel if they're running tarot, and it depends on the situation too. If it's about a person, or if it's about, is this job going to work out for me in my life? I mean, there's to tell the grandness and the scale is really on the interpreter who's prophesizing by clearly making that prophecy prediction.
Okay, so now what is a prediction? Because you can predict the stock market, you can predict economic trends, and that isn't necessarily prophecy. Are we getting into a zone of, a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square? What is a prediction as opposed to a prophecy?
That the separation from, I would say, from Renaissance times, right? A prophecy would have been somebody who is, if they're from the church, they were making it based upon what they read from the Bible, opposed to people who were outside of the church who were making it using planets or the stars, right? And then the term prediction has now come from, I would say, that third wing that came from the science and community that really came out after the alchemy, understanding, right? So there's like that weird trinity of like all three use prophecy, but the term prediction or now it's hypothesis is something that you'll see from a scientist. Prophecy can run, though, between the church and outside the church, anybody dealing in the spiritual realms.
Right. And prediction could also mean the support of math and algorithms, right?
Well, yeah, what we find is the general consensus upon people of the math per se, right? Or how we look at it, right? Like they call astrology a pseudoscience in science now, right? So it's that's the technical thing. If you look up astrology in Wikipedia, they're going to say it's a pseudoscience, right? That there's no basis about it. But their way to get to that was using horoscopes out of newspapers, right? And like seeing if people fall for it when they're not their birthday and not their thing, and people feeling like, yeah, that resonates with me. So that's kind of an unfair way to do it without using the actual tools and actually the way that it's done. And those were things that were used in the late 1800s to put into newspapers. And what newspapers did is they didn't want to hire astrologers and pay them money, so they just found out how to do it and just made up stuff, a lot of them.
And now let's move over to astrology and how that is different. We've discussed this a lot tonight, but when we put them right next to each other, it becomes a little bit more clear, but also more interesting. And so how would astrology separate itself from prophecy and predictions?
Well, that's where I think that astrologers in the term in astrology for making predictions of the world is actually a very weird term. It's called mundane astrology, which is actually a term that is very flat, boring. But that's the term. Mundane astrologer would be an astrologer who would take the eclipses to whatever astrological aspects are happening and make predictions, whether it is on a scale of, what could happen of a war or a country that might be going through a great time in its life through monetary means, or much more of kind of like a how we see in the headlines kind of situations. And then there's like the astrologer prophecy stuff, which would be like the Mayans. They used astrology, right, to get to their long count calendar. It's just not the way that you think of astrology. They used a whole different way and system, and they used an actual calendar system that actually is more accurate than our one today. Mm-hmm. And that's where it all comes down to, though. All roads lead to Rome and the church with the calendar system we're on. And even the math that scientists are using in their understanding of time is all based upon a Catholic Julian calendar system that they switched to Gregorian, which was done through the church. So I think that's where the math's all wrong, because astrologers don't use the calendar system. We do that to help you understand the date, to where we're all in a general consensus, but we're not looking at time by month and date. We're just doing that to translate it for other people. So we're not using the calendar system. We're on the divine planetary calendar. Like, to me, I'm like, well, the moon's coming into Aquarius. That's going to get weird, right? I don't really care about what time it is for like the calendar system. Like, midnight is the time of a new day. That's not how we lived up until just, there was the last country to get on the Gregorian calendar system was Saudi Arabia in 2015.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's a fact. And yeah, right. What do you find it? Because as I look at this question, thank you, Journals of Jade News. We'll get to the cards in a second, the last part of this question. But do you find it interesting that what is missing today was the approach of Isaac Newton, which Isaac took all four or all five principles, right? He took alchemy, he took math, he took philosophy, practically invented physics, right? Mm-hmm. And religion and the Bible. He was a very spiritual person, but all five things were part of his thinking process. Today we have that nowhere.
Well, it's there. It's just not. It's not given the money from the government.
Well, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That all five, we don't have. Well, they're out there, but we don't have an Isaac Newton. It's certainly Brian Greene or some of these, big time superstar rock star physicists today are combining all 5 of those things. No, religion's off. That's not even part of it. Consciousness is not part of it. Philosophy is not part of it. It's math. They're only
on their own wings now. Yeah, I mean, even the Catholic Church has a telescope and an astronomer, and at the Vatican.
Yeah, and the telescope in Arizona that they own, you know what it's called?
What?
Lucifer.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up, man. It's called Lucifer.
There's some Venus there.
Yeah, there's some Venus there. But I just find that, where we look at today, how we fire a rocket into space and to
we're having problems with that at NASA right now.
Right? Just a couple, you
Just
think?
a couple problems.
The math that gets us to planets is Newton's math. It hasn't changed. And we look at how Isaac was able to see through things. He had a fascination and a real study in all of those things. And I'm talking about philosophy and alchemy and math and certainly religion was a big part of his life. In the end, it was the biggest part. But that's what got us here today. And we have moved away from that, David. And I don't understand why.
I mean, it's like climate change. Like there's obviously humans on the planet, but there's also the other part of the climate, which is from the sun and what's happening to other planets and their changing of climate that's in the same math as ours. So it's like, how do we bring them all together to figure this out? It's in every place where we have to start taking from where we've all got something to bring and bring it together. But it's so you're not on my team, or and especially that's where I think that this is all kind of leading to, because it was like the British, right, when they had their world domination and like then people were like, we're gonna try things different. We don't want a monarch. And that's where it kind of throws an X factor in, right? But like in Newton's time too, you have to think of like he finally had the courage to do it because he had to deal with people before him that were actually imprisoned and being, there's a lot of books I have from the 1700s of in French that are the, apologies for the people who are of magic of that time that used alchemy, because there was so many, there was a lot that went on, but there was more of the understanding that there was people who went outside
the system,
the system that literally got put away. And that's what we see now with our medical. It's weird we're seeing it through the medical, right? Like Dr. Drew, who's been around for 30 years, got banned off YouTube, just got put back on. And then in California, they set the law that you push misinformation as a health professional that you'll lose your license. That's a law in California now. But
yes.
What's the information that's true and not true or changing or what, right? And so Dr. Drew, who you wouldn't think, right, is actually a huge, like, pushing up against this and getting in a lot of crap for it.
Now,
but that's where we're at. It doesn't matter if it's astrology or if it doesn't matter if it's all of it's coming to what's really going on is like what happened during the middle of our last crisis of religion, science, spirituality, and you're seeing it all kind of formulate again. And you're seeing people in this political world being really attached to Jesus and God through the Q movement on the right. Then you're seeing people on the science movement super crazy to the left, taking it to where experimentations. And it's like, so it's all happening all over again. But
let me jump in the short time that we have left. This is what I have found the most interesting. Is I grew up with a basic understanding of, what? This is America. It's the United States. You can do your own thing. Don't harm anybody. right? Don't go there. But you can have freedom of thought, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, not based on sex or age or anything else. You develop your own thoughts. You have the freedom to do that. Today, it seems that if you think outside of the box or you formulate something in your own mind that goes against the grain, you're canceled. Right, that you're eliminated and that you're a write-off. And so now people are afraid of expressing opinion today or of having freedom of thought. It's I mean, it's just, how do we get here so quickly when it was supposed to be the exact opposite of that, David?
I mean, that's why we're about to experience consciously, because Pluto was found in 1930. And this is where I think maybe we'll include Pluto as a planet again in the more general scientific community, because we're having the Pluto return of America, which was the Declaration of Independence. And so it's all coming back to, is this paper and this document going to survive?
Yeah, exactly. And so what do we do with all of that, where through all of the drama in the media and the news cycle that has gone on over the last 5 years, where now it seems that we are on the very precipice of disclosure, not only coming from possibly coming from our own government, but it is from science and it is from eyewitnesses and telescopes and fast radio bursts and exoplanets and all the James Webb. All of this is coming at us very quickly. Can the planet handle this kind of knowledge bomb?
I mean, we already handled the extreme, crazy, radical scientific experiments the last 2 years that we would never do. So I think we can. I think we have to look at, are they going to put the blame on extraterrestrial when really there's a new prime minister now that's going to be in Britain, and she got asked the question, are you ready to push the red button, right? The big red button, and cause annihilation of the earth and all that stuff. That was in the question, and it made him sick to the stomach. And she went, yes, I have no problem pushing that button, right? Why is it that these UAPs, why is it that they pop up the most in history when we are dealing with our nuclear, atomic, and hydro, evolution?
Yes.
Well, we're hearing the same rhetoric from the Putin stuff to now Britain getting all their soldiers. So are they going to try and throw blame now? Because maybe there's going to be no way with how many people now they're on the planet, how the information can spread, that they're just going to throw, well, the reason why all this really happened was these things, which might be quite opposite, might not be the bad guys or whatever, and throw the blame. There's going to be blame thrown somewhere. And I think that's why we're seeing there's so much news and just stuff to keep people off what they're trying to hold back, what they know is inevitable. I mean, that goes into Project Looking Glass and how the CIA looked into timelines, and it all comes back to one timeline. That it's like throwing up these walls of timelines to keep people kind of static before they know eventually all roads are gonna lead to one. I feel like I think we have to, as people, the more that we unplug from the program, and there's going to be some stuff that is true in life, right? So it's hard to discern, but I think that's where we have talks about it. And that's what you said earlier. Where we at a place where we can't have open talks or open thoughts? Any place where it's coming, we're not allowed there, that's where you just kind of go, okay, I'm not going to trust anything coming from that place at the moment, because if they don't allow that, then that's kind of a sign of why. What's the deeper reason? Yeah, and you don't even really need to actually understand what it is, because already that is showing up as that's not the way it works, and that's not fair, and that's not the way that we've all agreed upon, right? So
yeah.
So sometimes it's more simple, I think, and I think that even though it's coming at us at a lot, it's almost almost a little bit intentional, but also as an astrologer, I'm like, it is a lot. and we can handle it. And I think that we've had enough world wars. I think that we've had enough things to alter the way that we can deal with this. And the good news is the astrology shows that it's more of the illusion of what it could be than the reality, which is a good sign.
Here, and I hope that is the case. I know that it is. There isn't dark at the end of this road. I don't see it. I see light at the end of the road.
It just might look way different than what we think it looks like, but it will still be good, if that makes sense. Like, I think the hard part will be the erosion of the systems that have been failing, and like turning them back on. It'd be like trying to turn on an old, Model T Ford that we've been running on forever, and kind of being like, I'm sick of cranking the front of that thing.
I know, right? Well, I think
like with the post office, or the way that we're shipping goods now, or the way that, right? Like, that's what I'm saying is, like, when we really look at what's happening is the eroding of systems that are old. Even our power lines. Like today, you and I got a flex alert on our phones that looked like, it sounded like it was World War III on my phone.
I know. And see, I think most of the world that at least the 4.5 billion people that are connected to the internet and have access to news, that they now realize that things aren't what they seem. Whether it's deep history or just day-to-day life, things are not what we're taught. But I could see something coming along like, here's the news. The Mandela effect is real.
Right.
It's going to be something like that. And I think that most people are okay. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. And I
think about, and I know it's a hot button topic, but if you remove the politics around it, just like the fact of Trump's raid on classified documents, what are the classified documents? I don't care about the politics. Like, what are the 58 folders of classified documents that we're able to kind of see, but no, we're not? And like, what are they really about? Why would he keep them? Or why? Like, there's a lot of questions. Like, those are the, like, people are more like, well, he's a bad guy, or what he did, or what. I don't care. I'm like, wow, we get access to see that, like, a little bit behind the curtain here of, like, there are a lot of classified things in the world. Like, it's right in your face. They're showing you pictures, and the folders are empty. And like, it's got a special master now to look at it. And like, all these weird little things are a lot more deep than I think people kind of get caught up into the hysteria about. It's like, wait, to me, I'm like, what's in those? I don't care about the stuff. Like I just want to see, like, what is classified? Like, what's really going on?
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of that stuff is going to pop up on the net.
Right. It's ironic because if there would anybody be crazy enough to kind of try and pop all that out, would be Trump, which is kind of an interesting thing. It's like, well, or like that's like his like Trump card, right? They always say he's got a Trump card. It's like, is that it, or is it a fake thing, or I don't know.
Yeah, I always thought, I said this so many times, that if we were going to have a president that was going to drop the UFO bomb, and go, okay, this is what's going on, that it would have been him. And
right.
Maybe he just didn't get the chance. Maybe that's what was.
I don't know. He did create Space Force,
Yeah, he did, man. You got a point there.
And that's a weird thing in itself that we don't hear about much. It's being funded. It's, what are they doing?
I'm going to send you some pictures after the show. You just stay right there. David, thank you so much, my man. I know you put out content every day. You're getting ready to go out and do this race. You're going to do that in Havasu?
Yeah, both this next weekend, the 15th through the 17th, and then World Finals. It's October 1st through the 9th.
So is that going to disrupt your flow of astrology information?
No, I still put it all out, just pre-record some stuff, but some of the live shows get, put on hiatus until I get back. And I'm also, so.
Yeah, good luck, man. Good luck out there.
It's a big one, though. I race all year from March all the way to October for the World Finals. And I'm number one right now in my class so I'll get the national if I race good. And then World Finals are hard, though. To get a World Championship's not an easy task.
No. And good luck with that. I need one of my friends to be a world jet ski champion. David Palmer, behave and be well, man.
Thanks, brother.
Links, it's theleoking.com. The links are below. Go and hang out with David. He's putting out content and live streaming all the time. David, behave and be well. Stay right there. I'm going to show you some stuff right after the show.
Cool.
David Palmer. And I've got to get out of here. That's it. It's seriously, I'm off the network in 45 seconds. So let me get straight to the credits. Watch how fast I go through all of this. Fade to Black is produced by Hill J. Palmer, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark T. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Networking. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Dave Schrader. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tappy. I did it.
Wow.